Welcome to the family with
Alex Brandt Bernard Rasmussen.
Amelia Santaniello.
Andy Brandt Bernard.
Co-host Catherine Brandt.
and me. But the first thing we have to do is there is no Easter this year. It's Catherine's birthday, so there is no Easter.
I preempted Jesus coming out of the tomb. I don't think so.
Like,
I don't
my
think
day.
It's my day 100%. So Alex's children sent Catherine.
It was actually our whole family. Thank you very much.
Oh, was the whole thing? No, I'm just
So.
giving
It said
credit to the
Nana.
children.
It said Nana.
It said Nana.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Well, but it was signed Alex Dan Fonensage.
Nope, said Nana. That's all I know.
Okay.
Okay, you ready to? Because you haven't seen it yet, Alex.
Okay. I got to preface this. So
Okay.
2 years ago, I think it was, I ordered her flowers for her birthday. And when you order flowers online, you're never really
Yeah,
sure.
you're not,
what,
unless you know the florist.
what you're going to, unless you know the florist. And I'm like, I don't know any florists in
Yeah.
Florida. Like, I order flowers in Minnesota from the same place every time because they do a great job. And she sends me a picture of the flowers. She's like, "Thank you for the flowers. They're beautiful." They were the most pathetic
Oh,
flowers
was it like a little cup?
ever. It was like
Yeah.
4 sad, like clearly dyed. It was
Yeah.
awful. And I was like, I paid like
Sad
$100.
daisies.
Yes.
It was pathetic.
Yeah, it
and
was
so last year I was just like searching the internet.
You were vetting
for. I
florists.
was like, who does good flower arrangements and isn't just gonna like steal my money in West Palm Beach, Florida? And I found this place and I ordered from them last year. And I was like, send me a picture when you get
yeah.
I want to confirm that they're good, and they were great. And then this year, apparently, again,
Just fantastic.
Yeah, this is
I guess.
Camille's.
I don't know.
I know it's Camille's because I was in the
Yes.
elevator carrying them up, and this woman was like, is that a cake? I'm like, no, they're flowers. But there's birthday candles. That's
Oh, wait, we have
gorgeous.
to see this.
Where'd you get it from? So, yeah, it's already gotten
Meals,
rave
flower, and
reviews.
gifts. If anyone ever needs to order flowers for
In-
somebody
in
in West
Palm-
Palm Beach,
West Palm?
Florida, or Palm Beach.
Yeah, I could use a weekly bouquet for those.
Yeah,
that
so
are
there you go.
Yeah,
Now
there
we
you
know.
have it.
where
Now
to
she's
get
getting
it from.
stingy.
I'm just
And it's
saying.
not like it's very normal priced. It's not,
Oh, that's great, though, that you found somebody.
So yeah, and I ordered them for her today because we're leaving to Disney World the day after her birthday, and I was like, I want you to be able to enjoy them for a little bit,
Yeah,
rather
thank
than
you.
I looked at them for a day and then they died while we're gone.
Okay, so Dad's going to
Okay, you
hold
ready?
them up. Tom's
Okay.
going to
Okay.
The
All right,
present,
so I got to hold them like right here for the right,
right in
there.
front of the
so
camera.
right in front of the camera.
right where you can see that it's showing.
Why don't you calm down, all of you?
Alex,
gotta
you know,
balance
after
it out.
grandkids, you don't mean
Gotta
anything.
balance it out. You ready?
I'm
Okay,
ready.
here it comes. I'm going to do it like a Catholic priest with the chalice.
With the Bible?
Oh,
Oh, with the
since it
chalice.
is
or the
almost
Bible,
Easter.
either way.
Hold
You
it
ready?
above the head.
So homage
Ooh, you
to
can see the
Easter.
flowers.
Oh, those are gorgeous.
Look at that.
I
Is that
love that.
does look like
Did
a
you
little
tell
cake.
them, Alex, that's what you wanted?
That's what I ordered online. I
Oh, you
didn't.
saw
it wasn't
that.
like a custom thing. It was.
Here.
I went under seasonal flowers
I
because I was
love
like, oh,
it.
just spring and Easter and whatever. But then I went under
Nana's
birthday,
got it.
and I saw that, and I was like, my kids would lose their
Oh,
minds.
my gosh.
about the cake
Absolutely.
flower thing, and it's fun. You know.
And
you don't-
Catherine, were you disappointed it wasn't a real birthday cake? No.
Well, the trend is for people to make cakes that look like real
Yep.
things. So now
Yeah.
they're making flowers that look like cakes. So that makes
That
sense.
looks so pretty.
Yeah, Melissa and I watched Is It Cake?
We watched
Oh.
that.
Oh,
Karen
Is It
and I watched
Cake?
that
Yeah.
on-
Yeah, that's.
Well, your kids love Is It Cake.
Is It Cake is
It's-
so fun, and we got all but one right, and we found out, and we got who was going to
Wait.
win and who was going to be kicked off. Right?
Is that a show?
It's a
It's
show.
a show where
Competition?
they
Where they-
make
yeah.
things out of cake, but the idea is to fool everyone else into thinking. So it's like, I'll give you a Starbucks cup
Uh-huh.
and I'll say, make a cake that looks exactly like this. And then I'll put the cup and your cake side by side.
And
And the
you
other
have to-
contestants have to
The
guess.
judges.
The judges have
Oh.
to
Have to
guess
guess which
Oh,
one
that
is
sounds
cake.
fun.
which one's your cake.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, it is
And a
amazing
lot of
what they
the
can
time they
do.
don't get it right
Yeah,
because it's
Yeah.
Oh, I
It
bet
is-
they're super creative. If you're
They're so
trying to figure out if it's cake or not.
Yeah, the kids and I, we watched one on Sunday night because Dan went to the Timberwolves game, and I was like, let's just watch it as a cake, and then we'll get ready for bed, and it'll be great. There was one woman made a crab
out
Yeah.
of a cake.
out of cake,
and it looked real.
That was the one that we got wrong
yeah, they'll
because
put
we
like
were
the
like,
shine on
there's
the
no way.
shell
It
and
was-
everything. Yeah.
unbelievable. As soon as he
Wow.
cut into it, I was like, no, I don't.
And you're up till 1 in the morning watching the episode.
Yeah, exactly. Like I'm just sitting there. Which one's cake?
Now, for people who just tuned in, you have to understand Amelia's not really comfortable being on camera
Yeah.
every
Not at
day of
all.
her life.
Yeah.
Every day of her life.
Never done it.
When did you start doing television news?
When did I start? Oh my gosh. My first actual on air was in 1991.
So you were 5 years old.
I was 5. Yes, Tom. I
Oh,
was
that's
5.
my age.
Child newscaster.
Child
Like
news.
Catherine, who is like going to be 20
Yeah.
Yes.
on
Exactly.
Sunday. But yeah, and I actually started in Washington, D.C. I was what you call a reporter trainee at WSA, which was a Gannett station then.
Yeah,
So I
yeah.
would basically do everything a reporter did, write the story, come back, have the time constraints, do the interviews, and then write the story. But I wouldn't do a stand-up. You wouldn't see me on camera, and a reporter or an anchor would track it.
Oh,
So I
okay.
really was trained by really the photographers, photojournalists. So
Mhm.
I learned a lot there. And Angela Davis, who is at NPR now, who was at Channel 5, I trained her in. So we've
Oh,
known
you
each
did?
other. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's excellent. We started this thing a few weeks ago. I was kind of watching. The reason being, of course, I was raised by my mother, so I tend to get along with women
Yes.
better than I do with men. And I do understand. It's not that I don't get along with men, but I get along with women much better because I was raised by my 2 sisters and my mother. So I was thinking about it. I was watching the news because you can get as long as you've got streaming, you can get any news channel in the
True.
United States.
Hmm.
So I watch all the news from the Minneapolis-St. Paul market wherever I go. And I really like that. And I was just thinking, watching it one night, news really has changed quite a bit. And we got kind of lucky because Pat Miles was one of our first guests, and she
Yeah,
pointed
she's
out the
great.
fact she is terrific.
Hmm.
And Dave Moore, I loved Dave Moore as well.
He was
a
great.
great guy.
Yeah.
But he didn't like it. He said, I like doing the news by myself. I don't want a man or a woman. I want to do it by myself. It was a great way to start.
Let me tell you something. Don Shelby also would like to do the news by himself.
Oh, Don!
And he would freely admit that. I love Don. He's a very
do
dear friend
too.
of mine. But I remember when
Yep.
we were anchoring, we were talking. I like having a co-anchor because I think it's so hard, like the transitions of stories, somebody that you can kind of interact with and all that. Don was like, no, I would do solo. I'm like, yeah, I'm sure you would do solo.
Don. I love Don. He's one of my best friends. He's just
He's
a very
great.
caring, lovely man. There's no question about that.
He definitely.
No doubt. So basically, the observation that I made, a month ago, it does hold true, that because I didn't know that Don Shelby or Dave Moore didn't want to work with any man or woman. Didn't have It had nothing to do with it being a woman. It's the fact they didn't want a co-anchor.
Well, yeah,
Because-
for longest time, right? On
Yep.
networks, that's all it was. One white man.
I had to throw that in, did you? The one white man.
I'm only kidding.
I understand.
But it
no
was kind
question.
of like that, though, right? The male
Yep.
anchor was
Yep.
Walter Cronkite.
Yeah, the
Peter
Walter
Jennings.
Cronkite. Yeah.
Well, they kind of like were dad figures.
Yes,
Yeah.
that is
You
true.
know,
Good point.
Yeah.
they really were.
That's a good point. But I think now, because you do have two different perspectives, one from a man, usually one from a woman, I think the news has gotten a lot better because you're getting complete coverage of it. And not to say they didn't do a great job when they were by themselves. That's not what I mean. Because Minneapolis-St. Paul, people don't know this who don't leave the area much. But the two best news markets in America are Chicago and Minneapolis-St. Paul.
You are so right about that,
Yeah,
Tom.
it's
I'm talking about best. When I worked in another market, and we would have consultants, and they would hold Minneapolis, St. Paul up as an
Yep.
example of one of the best markets in the country. And I think that
Yep.
we're really fortunate here because I think all the stations do a really good job,
Yeah,
of
they
presenting
do.
the news.
There's one in the market I'm not wild about. They're not big fans of mine, so they can
Oh.
kiss my sister.
Well, there you go.
But anyway, moving forward. But I had friends that worked there too back in the day. They're no longer there. But I was watching the news one night and I thought, it is a lot different than it used to be. It's a lot better than it used to be. It gets total coverage because it gets coverage from two anchors instead of one. Just the fact that there are two anchors and then one's a man, one's a woman makes it even better, I think.
No, I think you're right. I think there's that different perspective, right? I think
Yep.
women approach news maybe in a different way, or they see a story, they maybe think of another angle or something that the male wouldn't think of, and vice versa.
Yeah.
The man
No, that's
coming
exactly
in,
right.
different thing.
I
Yeah.
don't understand how you work with your husband every day.
Well,
Oh,
look at you.
oh,
How's it going over
Frank
there?
one time said, Amelia won't even ride into work with me.
I don't. I listen. I need some time by myself, just to drown out the noise or talk to girlfriends on my way to work.
Right.
It was very cute when we first started. He's like, "Okay, let's go." I'm like, "Let's go where?" He's like, "Let's go." He thought we were going to drive into work together and drive. I was like, "No, I can't do it.
We'll
I
hold
can't do it."
hands and gab.
24/7.
Yeah, that'll be great.
Yeah, yeah. But
You
it
know,
is great. It's great working with
it
him.
is.
You can be you have that relationship with each other, right? Where you can be totally honest with each other and it's out of love, right? No, you're not going to get offended. It's coming from a good place. And he can tell me things or say things to me that might, like Don Shelby and I were really close, but there are things that I'm sure he wanted to say to me that he didn't say to me, right?
You think?
I
Possibly.
think, but and I probably didn't, although I did call him in one time to talk to him, have a little,
Ooh.
Oh man.
Oh.
and he'll tell
Sweet.
you the story too. It was when we first started anchoring together, and I felt he thought I was. I don't know if I didn't have the gravitas or too young, which was he is probably right, but I felt like he was kind of off with me. So I said, "Can we go to coffee?" We went for coffee, and I said, "I don't think you like me anchoring with you." And I'm
Ooh.
like, "And this has to work out." He's like, "I don't know what you're talking about."
Turns out you were right, though.
But so it yeah, but I'm just saying the husband and wife, that dynamic, that relationship, I think there's a lot of honesty that you can bring to the table. And there's trust too. More importantly, I think that there's that level of trust.
No, I think that's absolutely right. Now, I have to ask you a question, and I have not asked anybody else this. Even I've known some of the anchors for many, many years. I've never understood, other than John Hines, radio people. I mean, Meat Sauce and I are really good friends. We don't hang out much, but he's a
Yeah.
good friend. But the friends I have in media in the market are all TV people, other than like two people. I wonder why that happened. Because you don't have to work with me.
Yes.
I don't know.
It's kind of
Or
weird,
maybe the
though.
radio people were competitive with you or felt competitive. You
Yeah,
know what I
maybe.
mean? Maybe there was
Yep.
that they couldn't get over that part of it.
I mean, it's not that I didn't like any of them. We used to
Mhm.
hang out with Chuck Knapp and his wife, but that was when I was in the record business. I was not on the radio then.
Yeah, that's
And then
strange.
it's weird. I literally, there are a couple of people that I know and hang out with.
In a lot of those relationships, there was a weird turn in like personal stuff.
You're talking about radio? The radio
Yeah,
people,
yeah.
friends he
Like
was
what?
friends with?
I'm not going to get into their personal
talk
business,
about
but there
everybody.
were just some things.
Personal.
Is it them or me that got worse?
Well.
Both maybe.
Both.
Little.
But it's really weird. Other than one station in the market, I get along with all the news anchors, always have. And I don't know, I suppose I always will. But then you get, what is that?
I have no idea.
Your time's up. No,
Yeah.
I'm just-
Catherine,
Yep.
it's the
And-
police. They're
I've never
calling
heard
for
that
you.
ding dong.
I
in
haven't
my life.
either. I don't know what
it
that
sounds
is.
like a text or something,
Yeah,
or an
it does
alert
sound like a
of
text.
some
An
sort.
alert. Do you have an
Alert,
alert?
like-
I have no alerts.
It was a
Let me
text
check
message.
for an alert.
I got nothing.
I got nothing. There's nothing. It didn't happen on my phone either.
Very
I don't know.
strange.
I think it's Jude, the dog's phone. That's
There
what it
you
is.
Either that
go.
or the printer's going to self-destruct. I don't know.
No, that was definitely an iPhone.
Yes.
Yeah,
it
it
was.
sounded like
Yeah,
it was one of those.
But who
Um,
knows what's
Well,
on
Tom,
it.
that's probably what it was. A lot of, maybe felt some sort of competitiveness there of some sort.
I guess, but I mean, it's not that I don't have any friends in radio because I
No,
do. There are a
no,
number
no.
of people, but as far as like you and Frank are good friends of ours. We go to dinner.
Yes.
We just went to the nanny wedding and sat together
The
there.
Yes.
nanny wedding.
Well, Louis nannies, or
I know.
actually, it was a
I still
Lettieri.
can't, I still can't get over that Vinny is like old enough to be married.
to be married.
I know,
yeah.
it's so
He's
crazy.
like, I don't know why, but he kind of stayed like a permanent kid.
Like a
to
little
me.
kid.
Yeah.
It's like he
Even
doesn't.
though he's
he
playing on the
doesn't-
wild. No.
I know, but for some reason,
Exactly.
it's
Just one of those
uh,
people that you're like, no.
Well, and every
Well,
time
it's just
I see him, I think he's got to be in his 30s. He's got to be 30
I
by
know.
now. No, I'm in my 20s. I'm like, why do you stay so young?
Well, it's like when I walked in, and I saw Andy. I haven't seen him in so long, and I'm like,
Right.
"Hi." I'm like, "Hold on." I was trying to keep myself. I was like, "Wait, hold on a
Yeah,
minute."
things have changed a lot there.
I know. And then he's his second child on the way. So congratulations to that.
Yeah.
That's
Yep.
wonderful.
It is indeed. Now I got to ask. This is great. I'm glad you brought that up because I can ask Andy and Alex together. is it weird that you know all these news anchors, and is it just normal because you've known them all your life?
What is the answer to this question that we
Every time.
always tell you, Dad?
Mhm.
Well, no, we're doing this show for the listeners, not
Always
for
say.
me.
Well,
It's for the listeners.
you've asked
See?
it on air many
Well,
times.
but not with
Somebody-
Amelia in studio.
Dave, call in.
Fight,
Tell us
fight.
what we always say when we are asked this question. It's like we don't know any different,
Yeah.
so it can't
Right.
be weird.
If you grow up with it,
Yeah,
I mean,
like-
there are people out there who grew up as the sons of kings and pharaohs,
Yeah.
and they were like, "This is just how life
Yeah.
is," you know.
and it's a
if you
similar
grow up with
situation
it-
for us.
If you
Well,
grow up with it, no matter how
King
crazy the
Tom,
lifestyle,
yes.
you know, that's just how it is
Sure.
for you.
I would like to
That's
thank
true.
my children for comparing me to a king or a
Yeah,
pharaoh.
there you go.
I
You're
really do
welcome on that
appreciate
one,
it.
right?
Quite what I was getting at.
Wow.
but-
Great.
Not quite what you meant by that, but
Oh,
no,
no.
I just find that kind of cool because I mean, I obviously never went through that as a kid and all the rest of it, so you kind of wonder all that time. But you guys all handled it very, very well, and I do like the fact that we talk very. While we opened the show with Amelia being very honest about it, that Don didn't really care for it, that Dave Moore didn't really care for it either, and it wasn't because you were women; it's because I want to do the show by myself.
Yeah, and I think it was that way for a very long time, right? And I
Yeah.
think Barbara Walters cracked that door open,
Right.
and she faced a lot. She's in her autobiography. She talked a lot about how she met resistance all the way and had to fight it. Like her, I
Yeah.
forget who her co-anchor was at the time, but he had to have so many more stories than her, which is crazy. But it was that sort of thing.
Yeah, it makes sense.
The chair has to be taller.
Yeah, all that, right?
all that.
Was,
that what it
was
is?
Jane
Frank wants
Pauley?
that all the time. No,
Was Jane Pauley or was it the Diane Sawyer before Jane Pauley? Which one was before?
I don't remember.
I.
It's a long time ago.
What do you mean on the morning show?
Yeah.
I think there was Jane Pauley, then and Deborah Norville, and then Katie Couric.
Okay.
And Diane Sawyer.
Diane Sawyer was on.
she was on the
sort of
morning.
like she was sort of a pioneer-y
She was.
woman in TV.
She was.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think Katie Couric, which I really liked and when I started watching her, is that she also brought along, you can be yourself and have humor, and not be so. I think for the longest time, women felt like you had to be ultra serious to be taken seriously, right?
Yes.
Because you're fighting that all the time, right?
Mhm.
Across the country. I think there are some men who still maybe think that they can't really get serious news from a female.
Really?
I think there might be in little pockets, maybe.
yeah,
But look
maybe,
how
yeah.
long it took as far as having a female on the evening news to anchor
Mhm.
it. So there was Katie Couric and then Diane Sawyer. And that was 10 years ago? How long ago was that? Now, Nora O'Donnell was on
longer.
CBS and she's been on there for a while, but the two other stations are still men,
Hmm.
So I think you're just still fighting through that, but it's getting much better.
I just like the conversations. It's really nice that obviously you two are married, so that even adds another element to it. But I love the conversations about the different takes on stories that you
Yeah.
do. I see it. That to me makes the news very enjoyable.
Oh, good. Well, yeah, I think it's good to hear different perspectives, right? I'm just glad Frank and I haven't had an all-out fight on the air. That's good. A disagreement on the air would be good. I
The
will
last
say,
day you should do it.
I'm just gonna drop
Let
it.
them have it.
I've been holding this
I've been
in
holding that
all
all
those years.
Yeah, exactly. I will say this: it's interesting though about women. You report the news, you anchor the news, and all that, and we're still dealing with not so much. Hi, this is what we reported. It's still like a cosmetic situation. I mean, that's what a lot of people focus on. Oh, what are you doing to your hair? What is that outfit? What is this?
Right.
Instead of, did you just hear what I said or reported? That part of it. I think it's getting a little bit better.
Yeah.
People don't
But
like
men-
change, so I'm sure that you feel like you always have to. It's like I just have to look the same because if anybody mentions anything,
Yeah.
you can,
There was that show Murphy Brown.
Oh, Murphy
Murphy
Brown.
Brown, yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know why, but this one episode stayed with me where she was complaining about all these listeners complaining about her hair.
Yeah.
And she read some note that she had. She's like, I can't stand it when you change your hairstyle. I spend many, many hours trying to copy your hairstyle. And then when you change it,
Yeah.
I got to go do that now.
and she's like, I'm trying to read the news here.
I know.
Trust.
And I get that you should look, neat, but it's funny.
It
It is funny. I'm just kind of like, as I get older and all, you just kind of go, they feel comfortable. People feel comfortable enough, like you're a member of their family, to say that to you, right? My mom would
Yeah.
say it.
Yep.
She'd be like, what were you wearing? So, but it's just
That's
funny because I just don't think men as much, although Frank gets a lot about his hair.
Yeah, he's mentioned that before, that he gets.
Don
Is that
Shelby
a
gets it too.
toupee?
Yeah, Don Shelby gets it.
Your
too,
hair's
that's
too dark. Your hair's
Yeah.
too light. Why is your hair so dark?
Yeah.
Because he's Italian,
Is
might
that
have
real
something to
hair?
do with it.
Yeah.
It's just a thought.
I know,
but,
it's just so funny though. I mean, it just because when I watch the news, it's just you're listening to what they have to say, right? Not picking apart.
Although I will
somebody's
say, there has
appearance.
been I feel like such a hypocrite. I've watched things and I'm like, I'm a little distracted by that blouse,
Yeah.
Yeah,
but, or like,
Catherine's
yeah,
blouse
like
right
my
now.
yeah, I
Look at
got
that
pink
blouse.
flamingos.
I like your
Flamingos.
blouse. Yeah, how appropriate. How
Indeed.
appropriate.
Amelia, where'd you grow up?
Well, Pennsylvania, my father was in the Air Force, so he was from
Oh, okay.
Scranton. So that's where he retired. But so we were all over the place. But that's where I went my sophomore year in high school. Although I will say Minnesota, this is home because it's the longest
Yeah.
I've been in one place, It'll be 28 years. So
28 years, really?
yeah, this year will be
Man.
28 years. Isn't that crazy?
It is crazy.
It is, and you're only one when you got here.
That's right. Yep.
That's right.
Oh, God.
So Scranton, Pennsylvania, they do a very good TV show in that town. What's supposed to be in
Yeah.
that town?
I was
anyway.
going to say, were you super stoked when The Office took place in
Oh
Scranton?
my gosh, I know. I was like, oh, Scranton. Oh boy.
Scranton.
Yeah. I worked at the ABC affiliate. It was a dominant WNEP. Yeah, they had their own chopper that landed right there.
Ooh.
They had the helipad out there. Yeah.
Mhm.
And then I went to Hartford and
Oh,
and then I
That's
came
been pretty.
here. Yeah. Hartford, you know what? That town, there was really nothing going on there. The Whalers had just left.
Oh, God.
I mean, there was nothing much there. The only good thing about Hartford was like it was a couple hours to Boston, a couple hours to New York. You were sort of centrally located, I felt like.
When I used to work for Royal Business Machines, that was the home office. Was
Oh,
Hartford.
was it? So were you there? Did you ever
Yeah.
go visit there? Oh, well, then Catherine.
Yeah, well, but it's pretty.
It is pretty. It is pretty. And Mark Twain's house right down there. Mark Twain seems to be following me because I worked in Elmira and his
Yes.
wife, Olivia Langdon, they're buried there. I was like,
Right.
what's going on with this Mark Twain thing? Yeah, no, Hartford's really pretty, but
Yeah.
the city I mean, maybe it's flourished now. I don't know, but then there was really nothing
Probably.
going on.
Well, it was a little too far away from everywhere.
No.
You know,
Well,
close enough with the train, but
yeah, I was gonna say with the train, you can just jump on there,
Yeah. but
I suppose that is probably true. When you do, because the reason I'm asking this, because I've never done show prep in my life. I just don't even know how to do that. Do you have to do a lot of show prep to do television, or do you want a natural reaction to what you're reading?
I think, well, you should really obviously keep up on the news, right? So I kind
Yeah,
of like
right.
it. My husband's a big newspaper. He'll read the newspaper, physically read. I go through and I scroll through and I'll read, see what's going on in the world and all that, and what's going on in our community. But yeah, you go in and we have producers, so they're already starting at 9 a.m. and starting to produce the show. So we go in and kind of go through it, and we don't build in what we're going to say to each other. I want that. We both want sort of that to be a natural, authentic reaction if there is anything we want to say or react to. So when you say show prep, we do look at the stories that we're covering, what we're reading, and change things maybe to the way that we speak, or make
Right.
adjustments and all that. Maybe suggest things here and there. But we have pretty good producers and executive producers, and they're pretty much on top of it.
So that's good. I mean, it's teleprompters were a great thing. I'm sure you didn't have to look down at a piece of paper. Well, that was before your time, anyway. I'm sure. How long have teleprompters been around on the TV news?
Oh my gosh.
yeah, I think
I
forever.
don't know. You know what? My first job when I was in Elmira, New York, on air, we had the paper prompt.
Yeah.
Oh, so we had the teleprompters, but you had to put
Yep.
the paper in there. and I would do cut-ins, so I was by myself, so I would have to tape the paper, and then I would have to move the prompter with my, like, remotely. Um,
Oh man.
okay, and so I had to do, so if it ever jammed, I was screwed. You
That's
know
what
what I mean?
why I
Oh.
asked. Yeah,
Gee.
but
Yeah,
I've seen it happen before. That people do get jammed and they don't know what to do. It's pretty interesting.
yeah. So
Not
you
so much
always,
anymore. Used to
well,
be.
Frank still will bring his paper scripts to the desk because we
Yeah.
use iPads now and all that. But
Yep.
he's right though, because anything can go wrong, and then it'll be like, if that goes down and you don't have script,
Yeah.
you
Deer in
can't remember
headlights.
all the
Yeah.
stories and all.
No.
All of a sudden it becomes broadcast news, and the producer's talking in your ear. But yeah, and I also did the weather too when I was in Elmira, which
Oh, you
was fun.
did? You did both?
I did. I did that. I had a time. I produced my show. I didn't have to run the prompter on the weekends. I was doing weekends then. I produced my show. I had to do the weather. Didn't know anything about it. Got everything off the AP. And then I had to let our sports guy know, and I had to time him out when he was doing sports. So I'd have to kind of like tap him to let him know, we got to wrap these things up. It was crazy. Yeah. Best experience though. It was such a great experience because you learn a lot
Yeah.
about what a producer goes through, what the timing and what you have to do. It's so, and I would have to edit sometimes.
Jeez.
It's interesting. Years ago, and one of the reasons I asked you that is God, it'd be 30, 35 years ago now. After the first couple of years doing the show from the KQRS studios, after a couple of years, they said, you should probably do this from your house. And it was the reason for that being because they would hand me these stories and I'd go, I'm not doing that story. It's ridiculous. I don't care for that.
I love that you have that power. No.
Yeah, no, I'm not doing it. So basically, it was let's get him out of the building so he doesn't influence anyone else.
Anyone else?
That's exactly what it was all
A
about.
revolt.
So I would literally, because I was on that show for 37 years,
Yeah.
and for the last, I would say 30, 32, 33 years, I maybe was in studio for about a total of maybe 25 times.
Wow.
Yeah, I just never went in.
And that was fine with you.
Oh, it's fine with me
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
hanging around radio people, no, thank you. No,
I
I'm just
love
kidding.
going in.
I bet you do. Like, to be on television, you have to be in, obviously. Oh, I suppose you don't. Now you could do it.
No, you know what? Well, although I will say I did enjoy during the pandemic, we did a couple from the house, from our house,
Yeah. Oh,
broadcast.
right. Yeah. Yep.
That was kind of nice to have that option, right?
Yes.
Do you want to work from home? Like yesterday would have been a perfect day.
Yeah.
Like, I don't feel like getting into a car and driving. Can we do the
Yes.
news from home? I mean, obvious. So during the pandemic, we came in all the time. That was strange because it was really limited. It was, once again, seeing my husband across from me. I'm like, I could do this at home. But now,
right.
it's nice to have that creative interaction with your producers, your editors, everybody who's working there. That part of it, I do enjoy the people.
Sure.
Yeah, I could. Well, doing television, that would be a totally different situation.
Yeah,
A lot
yeah.
more
No, you're
people
right.
involved. Yeah.
You're right. But I do like that option of doing it at home, but that's never going to happen with us.
It might. You never know.
Well, even Zoom or StreamYard, which was what we use, it makes such a difference to be able to see the person
Yeah,
talking.
it does.
To me,
Yeah.
sometimes when I'm just listening, I kind of just get like, la la la.
Oh, you
know?
start like drifting off a little bit?
Yeah, it's just easier to see who might have something to say, who's
Mhm.
interested. Oh, everybody looks like they're getting bored. Time to change the subject. It's
Yeah, you
just-
read some physical cues. Yeah, true.
like
Yeah, the
that.
physical cues are huge because
Yeah.
when you guys would go to Florida and we didn't have the video, it was
Right.
like people were always talking over each other, and it's like, "Are we done talking?" It's
Yeah,
just
yeah,
so
yeah.
much easier to see people,
Right.
know how to converse.
True.
Yeah,
True.
especially with
Conversing.
many different people. It's not like just one person talking on the phone.
Hmm.
Yeah, it is a whole different situation. No
It is.
question about that. So you got to CCO what year again? You said
96 I got there.
96 you got there.
Yeah. Memorial
was-
Day weekend.
Who was the general manager at that point?
John Culleton was a general manager at that
Culleton,
point.
okay.
Yeah, Cully was a general manager. Ted Canova hired me,
Okay.
and Cindy Hilger was there, and
remember
Colleen
that name.
Needles. And it was, and I feel really
Colleen
bad.
Needles, God,
Yeah. So Amy Marcellus, I don't know if you remember, she was on the
Sure.
weekends then.
Yep.
So I got hired to come in to either do the weekends or to do the noon. They were going to pair somebody up with Bill Carlson. And within now, you know how long Cindy Hilger was there. You know how long Colleen was there, right?
Right.
So
Yep.
that's why Amy Marcellus, she had been there for 10 years or so. And Amy will even, she tells this story too, but Amy was like, they're not ever going to leave. I'm not ever going to be able to move into a weekday position. So she got a job in Nashville. And so I got there in May. So all of a sudden, Cindy and I think John, they were going to move to LA. I think he got a job in LA at KCBS. So I got promoted to the 5 o'clock. And then 5 months after that, Colleen left. And then so they made the decision to promote me to the 5, 6, and 10. And Amy's like, I waited how long?
Yes.
Swore these people were never going to leave. And so with them, the year I was there, like 2 of the longtime anchors left.
God, that's amazing. Because obviously Mark Rosen was on the show when I
Yes.
started in 1987,
Wow.
Mhm.
and he'd only lasted about 1 year because CCO Radio decided they didn't want him on that show
Oh, wow.
because the ratings went through the
Yeah.
roof immediately. We got very, very lucky there.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah,
was
he
kind of wondering
loves
about
doing that with you. He talks about that. Yeah, a
Oh,
lot.
Mark, I love Mark.
Yeah.
He's a wonderful guy.
He is.
I mean, the problem I have with Frank and Mark is they're both too tall. But other than that,
They are tall, aren't they?
it's what, 6'5" and 6'6". That's pretty
Yeah.
tall, yeah. Those are pretty tall people. But yeah, that back then, and the only reason I bring it up, the divide between television and radio was huge. They didn't want radio people on TV.
Isn't
They
that
didn't want television
crazy?
people on the radio. Yeah, what was that?
I don't know because it's a great cross promotion.
Yeah, yep,
You know what I mean?
yep.
I mean, I don't understand that. I don't.
Well, like you were talking about before, though, there was more of a buttoned up image of TV
No,
news
true.
anchors
You know what?
Yes.
You're right. That
for a
it could
long
be
time.
that too, because I think radio, it's a lot more freeing. I know Rosie always says that, right? You can pretty much say whatever and well, not
Mhm.
whatever, but there is a lot more freedom.
Right.
Mhm.
But I think it's a great opportunity to show your personality, talk, and find out a little bit more about the person, right? People get to know you more.
I think that's exactly the reason that it works so well. Because when those people started popping on the radio back in, the mid '80s or whatever it was, people realized they were human beings. They were not
Yes.
just mannequins sitting there reading the teleprompter. That these were real people, good people, and I think it was wonderful for television.
Yeah, I agree.
And
I
radio, too.
agree.
Well,
And
do
I
you
think that's why
Sorry.
people feel that way, like about you and the family podcast and all. People get to really, you guys are just very real,
Mm-hmm.
and talk
I love
about,
that.
right? And
Mhm.
so people are invested in that, and they feel like they really know you because are you talk about what's happening in your life, and they see how you are. So I think people are really connected to the radio personalities, people who are on the radio, because they get to see who they really
Yeah,
are.
yeah. In general, I think that's
Yeah,
probably
I think in
true.
general I do.
Well, and your radio show was extremely long, so people could listen to you for 4
4.5
hours.
hours.
That's
Yeah.
a
Four and
lot.
a
That's
half
a big
hours.
part of a day.
Wow,
Gee, that wasn't the
that
sales
is.
department that did that to me, by the way. Why don't we make it 7 hours so we can run more commercials? I go, oh
Wow.
my
Yeah,
God.
4 hours a day
Oh my
trying to
Four and a
gosh.
half.
trying to stay
And Tom, you said you
on
didn't
it
prep,
for
so you just
4
kind of like
Never.
would just go on there and just talk about things, or
Well,
did you
I'll
kind
give
of?
you an example of why I don't prep. We had, Mark Pellegrino is the great actor. He's a phenomenal actor. He's American Rust. Season 2's coming out. And I had never interviewed him before. Jeff
Uh-huh.
Daniels is also on the show, and I've talked to
Oh, I
Jeff
love Jeff
several times.
Daniels.
Oh, he's wonderful. But Mark Pellegrino's a great actor. I mean, he's phenomenal. I didn't do any prep on him or whatever. And we not only talked about all the things, he's in everything. I mean,
Really?
oh
The
God,
name
yeah, he's
sounds
in
familiar. I'll have to look him up.
yeah, he's terrific. But I started going off on different things, and I asked him a personal question, and he ate it up. I said, "You and your father didn't get along, did you?" And he said,
Oh,
"How'd
look at
you
you.
know that?" And I said, "Because I can tell by the way you act that you're taking when you take it out on people on screen, you're really taking it out on your dad because of what he
Listen
did
to
to you."
you. Wow.
It's true. Well, I
Wow.
went through that same thing myself. He and I talked a little bit about that's why I don't do any show prep because I didn't know that about him.
Uh-huh.
You know,
So that
and,
was the authentic you, right? You're
and
sitting there.
him, he
Yeah.
was very authentic.
Nice.
Yeah, so it all
So it wasn't
worked
like you
out.
read about that. You just figured that out by
Nope.
talking to him.
I could tell by talking to him,
Hmm.
and I've seen him act. He's a great actor. Anyway, he's really, really good. But the one thing about having that bad childhood for men and women is you end up basically with fear of very little. So you will do things acting on a screen like other people won't do. But you've already been through all that. So,
Yeah.
I mean, he's a hell of a good actor. But that's why I don't do any show prep at all because I want to just realize, oh, that just occurred in my brain, and let's talk about that, or in your brain, let's talk about that. I like those interviews much better.
Oh, I get that because I think when you have all these questions in your mind or prepared questions
Hmm.
or whatever, you kind of tend to, I think, focus on that unless you're really listening, right? Like you're
Yeah.
in the interview and you're listening.
Hmm.
Well, I'll give you an example of
Clearly
where
you were.
that may have all started. It was many, many years ago, 25 years ago, maybe it was longer than that. We had Jane Fonda in studio at KQRS. She came in and did the show for 4 hours that one day.
Wow. How
She
was
was,
she?
oh, she was phenomenal. She was wonderful. But during the breaks, we go to breaks or whatever. She would come over, and she came over to give me a hug and say, "This I've never been through this before. This is really fun." And she gave me a big
Oh,
hug. But when you look in her eyes, you can see what Henry Fonda did to her in her eyes. There's no question about it.
really?
He was a
Really? Yeah, she
really
had that.
yeah, yep,
Well, she's admitted that too, though, hasn't
Yeah.
yep.
she?
She absolutely did. But that's the kind of thing that I love, just off the cuff. Body language, the look in people's eyes, things like that. I love that stuff because there are tells that are magnificent.
I love that. I love
It's
that you're
great.
that in tune and that's great.
Well, I had to be to protect myself from my own father, so that's where that came from. My
Thank
father
God
was a
for Toots,
jackass.
right?
Yeah, thank God for Toots. That was the other thing, by the way. I'm so glad you brought her up because, oh
Great.
my God, after she met you and Frank, it was like, let me just tell you something. The greatest news people of all time. She
She's
thought that was so great that, well, she and Frank's mother got along
Oh
really,
yeah,
really well.
Rosalie loved her
Oh,
too.
Yeah,
that
She
was such a
yeah,
cute
wasn't
relationship.
it?
It
it really
was
So
so
was.
cute.
sweet. So sweet. And she introduced Nana, Frank's mom, started volunteering at the
Yep.
hospital because of Toots. It was just wonderful.
They fell
Really
down an
wonderful.
escalator together, I think, didn't they? Yeah.
That's a really nice thing to bring up.
Fell.
No question about
Well,
it.
I mean, it wasn't funny, but it's kind
No,
of funny.
they were together. Yeah.
They had
But
each other.
they
The
did. They
fall.
had each
Yes.
other. It all worked. But see, that's the kind of the reason that having everybody in to talk about this, having you in to talk about this, because people don't realize behind the scenes that's the kind of stuff that goes on. That
Yeah.
mom and dad are around, even if they don't live in town, they come to visit. They
Yeah.
get to know one another. That relationship between the two of them was just beautiful to
It
watch. It was wonderful.
really, really wonderful. Yeah.
How did it even start? I don't remember how they got connected.
It was at what's the Italian place that closed on 51st in France? It's now closed, but that's where they met. Was there?
Yellow?
Geez, that was there forever.
No.
not
Maurizio,
Arizio,
was it?
Yeah, I
It
think
was,
it
it
was.
It was on the
Mauricio or
corner
something.
there.
Yeah, it
Maurizio.
just
Yeah, that was
closed.
there
Yep.
forever.
Yeah, it just closed.
Yeah, but I think didn't Tom you arrange it? I can't remember. Or did
Yeah.
they? Yeah, and
Well,
so
Frank brought up to me that
I'm right.
his mom was in town and she didn't know anybody. She said she was
Yes,
very lonely and all that stuff.
yes,
I said, "Oh, well, why don't we have lunch with my mom and the two of them can?" And they became great friends. It
they
was
really did.
wonderful.
So
Yeah,
thank you for that. That was a wonderful friendship. She really
it
did love
was.
your mother. She really did.
Arezzo.
Arezzo, yeah, thank
Arezzo, there you go.
Arezzo.
That's
yeah.
exactly what it was.
Hmm.
But I mean, those were two difficult times too, because you guys came to my mother's funeral. I went
Hmm.
to her
Yeah,
funeral. I mean, it was just those were difficult times because it was three generations of the two families, and it was just
yeah,
wonderful. It was
yeah.
great. So moving on to happier subjects, like back to their friendship or whatever. But I mean, that's the kind of thing. And again, I don't know. Maybe this is my whole point. Why women make doing the news much better, women and men together, because I don't know if that would have ever happened if just men kept doing it. That hey, why don't you bring your mother and Tom will bring his mother? I don't know if that would have happened without a woman being involved. You know?
I think it's really you are an example of being raised by your wonderful mother and you
Oh
said your
yeah.
two sisters. So and I think Frank is, He has his mother and his sister, who is 10 years older than him. So you guys are sensitive to that fact. I think there's that, which is very giving of you to even think of, you know what, let me bring my mom and introduce her to your mom. So I think that, wait, what was the question? I'm just going off
Well,
on it.
getting back to it,
I can tell you lost it. I had a train of
Like
thought.
men and women, I think that there are some men who have that feminine side, I guess, but it's always good to have
Yeah.
the two perspectives of the female and the male, I think
yeah,
it would have to eventually happen, don't you think? Like bring a woman. I mean, we're
no question.
Yeah. For
half
Well,
of
and
the
another,
population or whatever, right?
Yeah.
there's a reason I think I was so sensitive to it is because I was raised by my mother and my two
Yeah.
sisters. So women always told me what to do. I
Hmm.
had very little to do with them. The only
And
time
now
I was
you have
around,
Catherine telling you. Yeah.
and now
Yeah.
Catherine's telling me what to do on a
Hardly.
nonstop basis.
I'm just kidding.
It'll never come to an end. We know
Hardly.
that now. But no, I just think there. A good way to put that, I think, that the news, because women are involved, is more human now. It's not just rote. I'm going to read the news. This is the news. There's an interaction with women and men together, rather than two men or two women. The interaction between a man and a woman is great on television. I think it's wonderful.
Well, that's good to hear, and I'm glad you think that. I think it's come a long way, though. I do
Yeah.
think that for the longest time, I'm sure Barbara Walters, I haven't seen her newscast that she did in the mornings. I'm
Hmm.
sure she tried to be like, you know what she said? That she was always giving these fluff stories and she wanted to do the hard
Right.
news stories.
Right.
So I have to imagine she tried to present herself as being very serious, right? I,
Yes.
so I think it took a while before, as a woman, that you could try to show a lighter side or that more, I don't want to say feminine side, more caring side, because I think maybe you wouldn't have been taken seriously. You're considered a
Yeah.
little soft, So I think we've come a long way having women on the news and women feeling comfortable showing that side.
Yeah. I guess that is probably
Because I
true.
think for a long time, women, I felt, now, even when I started, there had been great inroads and there had been, like you said, female co-anchors. That was a standard, right? The man and the female. Even then, you felt like you had to prove yourself and keep proving yourself that I am worthy of being in this spot or having this job. And I'm not here because I'm female and ticking off a box. I'm here because of what I'm bringing to the table.
Yeah, that makes total sense. I am really glad this. I literally have gotten through to pretty much every, and it's so great that you guys all came in and did the show.
Well, thanks for doing this, Tom. It's really sweet of you.
No, well,
It really
I
is.
think
It's
people
nice
will
to
learn.
even think that like that.
I am having one hell of a time getting a hold of Cindy Bricotto. Where did she go?
I
I can't get a hold of her. I love Cindy. She's a
I
wonderful.
know Cindy's great. Cindy's like a hard ass.
Oh,
She-
she is.
you
Oh,
know,
yes,
but
she
she's
is.
sweet too. Though she's
Yep.
really nice. She lost her husband.
Yeah.
So Brian, several years ago. I don't know. I don't even know if she's still living here. To be honest with you, she
I
might
still
be.
lived in a
Well, it was
recovery room.
interesting because Tom got on Facebook.
Yeah,
and,
yeah. I was gonna say
and
Facebook.
Cindy Bricotto liked his page, so that
Okay.
it was like, oh, and so we tried to track her down through that
Yeah.
avenue, and there's just nothing. She
Nothing.
doesn't. She's never on social media, so it's interesting that she
Yeah.
liked your page, and we can't find anything out about her. It's like she just disappeared.
I'll dig around a little bit. I don't know why I thought I think they have a child, right? And I think her daughter and she has grandchildren. For some reason, I was thinking she was down in Florida or California on one of the
Yeah.
coasts.
Oh,
I
I
got to track her down. I really.
yeah, she'd
She
be
was
great
always
to
one-
talk to, right? Because she went through a lot too.
well,
Oh,
she was
no.
the original queen bee of.
Yeah,
Queen
yeah,
Bee Cindy.
Yeah, she was.
But
yeah.
I'll tell you, she was always a very dear friend. I mean, it was a weird situation because then she went to work at the governor's office.
The governor, yeah.
Went to work for the governor, and the first thing she did was invite Catherine and me to come to dinner at the governor's residence. It was kind of weird. A morning disc jockey is like, oh, you got to come to the governor's residence and hang out. I was like, okay, well,
Yeah, we
Well,
were
you know what?
We were like, can we say no?
Can we-
We have armed guards at the door if we say no. I don't even know what to do here.
But the one thing I have noticed as well, and the other one, Kathy Wurzer, I got to get her on too.
Oh,
And
Kathy's great.
I mean, people go, "Oh my God, Tom Bernard and Kathy Wurzer, they must hate one another." It's like, no. Why you think that? I don't understand. I don't really know Kathy. I've talked to her, but I don't really know her. But she's a hell of a talent too. So those are the
Oh,
two.
she is.
Well, she's
She,
been on the show before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got to get her on.
yeah, Kathy's
I don't
great.
know how I got a hold of her.
Kathy's what you should talk to Kathy because she's working actually. I think it's part of NPR. Or no, maybe for TV. She is doing all the anchors, male anchors.
Oh, she is.
She's doing some sort of documentary on that. I've seen that pop up on her Facebook page. Yes.
Really?
And I think she's talked to Don, talked to Paul Majors. I forget who else. I think it's only males. Maybe she is doing some females. But anyway, it's something. It was like the golden age of TV, I think is what it was called. So maybe
Oh,
she's
okay.
some of the female anchors too. But yeah, she's working on that.
Yeah, I got to be honest with you, and maybe Andy and Alex and Catherine can jump in here. Every one of the guests so far has been terrific, I think.
Absolutely.
Of all the anchors. You guys liked all the There was not one person that came in, a woman that came in and was like, they were. I think it shocked a lot of people that listened to me over the years that all these different TV people are friends of mine and ours. I think a lot of people think that I am grumpy and sit at home and
I was
stare
just
at the
going to
wall.
say they don't realize that you're fun and you've got a very kind heart.
Well, and two
Well,
things
that's
can
very
be
nice.
true.
yeah,
Deb.
yeah, that is true.
You are
Yeah.
grumpy.
Oh,
Well, you are crabby.
boy, look at this guy.
Honesty coming through from this family.
You are. A
They
crab.
said it, not me.
Unbelievable. You know, it's kind of funny because I just got it back on social media. I'm on Facebook for the first time in 12 years again.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh, I'm
because
so
it was
tired
too
of social
nasty.
media, Tom.
Oh, God. Social media is tough.
I know.
What was weird, and I specifically didn't make the reference, but I saw a guy post something about someone else, not me, but I thought it was hideous and hateful and horrible, and so I kind of posted about it. But I think people assumed I was talking about myself, that the guy attacked me.
Oh,
like,
but you were
no.
defending somebody else. You were
was
saying
defending
that's just
somebody
not
else,
good
yes.
behavior.
Oh,
Yeah.
dear.
Yeah, it was not me that they attacked, it was someone else.
I think
Never
it's
wanna
best
talk
to
about
just delete those kinds of things and not engage.
You
Not
know
even
what?
engaged
You are
with it.
absolutely
Yeah, I
right,
think
Catherine, because
that's
there's just no winning that
definitely-
argument. There's
No.
just
No.
no.
There are people that no matter what you post are always going to be upset by it. And
A
the best thing to
100%.
do is
Mhm.
mute them so they can't see your
You
stuff.
can't engage.
And it's
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
like, you enjoy
Yeah.
that.
Well, there's no
And-
civil discourse anymore. You know,
Yeah.
there
That's
just
true.
isn't, unfortunately.
There's always, yeah, and trying to have the last word on a
Yeah.
social media fight. No. Mm-mm.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
yeah.
People can dedicate their lives to a thread.
I know, right?
They really can.
That's true. Now, Amelia, you don't have to comment on this because you're in the business and all the rest of it. But one of the observations that I made, and one of the reasons I did this, getting all of the anchor women on the show that I possibly can, is local news is terrific. National news is hideous. All they do is attack something or someone.
Okay, when you say national news, first of all, I agree with you. I think local news is great, especially in our
Much
market.
better.
I think we do a really,
Yep.
really good job of community and trying to
Yep.
be, objective and presenting you the facts. I will say when you say national, I think national. There are certain stations, and I feel like the big three still do a pretty reasonable job of trying to sort of remain objective.
Yes, I agree with that. Yep.
But the other, we have so much cable and this and that
Yep.
there are certain
That's who it
stations
is.
that who are aligned with certain parties and who are going to present their facts in a certain way. And I think people know to go to those stations because they're going to hear what they want to hear, right?
Mhm.
And by the way, some of these people, I hate to say that they're newscasters or reporters because I feel that they're commentators.
Yeah.
They spout their opinion,
Right.
which we don't. I mean, I might spout my opinion about the weather, but I'm not going to say anything about the news, right?
Right. Right.
Because you have to remain objective.
That's exactly the reason I asked you that question, because local news would never do. And your point's well taken, that the networks on television are not the problem. It's the cable channels
Yes.
that are the problem. There's no
Yeah.
question about that. And the two leading ones, of course, CNN and Fox, are almost unwatchable now.
Oh, I know.
It's
I know.
it's like it's so hateful. It's like, why, man? I don't want to watch this.
When I heard, I'd get put makeup on in the green room, and I would have the TV on, and I'm not going to say what station it was. It was it was a cable station, and I
Right.
heard the anchor just going off about stuff, and I thought, oh my gosh, and the whole thing was just his opinion. It was
Yeah.
all opinion, and I'm like, I can't listen to this.
Yep.
Present some facts to me. It was just as I'm like, this is not a reporter or a newscaster. This is a commentator, an
Yeah.
opinion piece. So yeah, it's rough.
I'm really, really glad that local news and actually national ABC, NBC, CBS go down the list. They don't do that kind of thing because
Yeah.
I cannot even watch it. I tried. I
Hmm.
tune in for about 1 or 2 minutes, and then I got to move on. It's
Yeah.
just too much. So I'm
Yes.
glad you guys don't do that. You deliver the news, you deliver the facts.
And we
There's
say
really,
you make your decision, right? Try to
yes, right.
present both sides, and listen. And here's another thing: our audience here in the Twin Cities, and this is research shows. This is from consultants and everything that we have one of the most intelligent and community engaged audiences, viewers, and listeners, which I think is true because people will, you know, hold you to task or take you to task if they feel like you haven't reported on something right or you left this out or.
So it just popped up on my watch. A listener right now said that you said something to your husband Frank on the news once they thought was hilarious, but I don't know if this is true or not.
What'd I say?
Did you actually turn to him once and say, "Let me be Frank, Frank"? Did you actually say that, or are they making it up?
Oh, I don't think I ever said.
You're- yeah. It's like
I'd
when
love
we
it.
it's like when we run into people and they're like, "Yeah, the one time that you said blah 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 blah." I'm like, "I don't remember that. Maybe I did.
Oh
I don't
God,
remember what I said yesterday."
I know.
Yeah.
Welcome. Well,
Yeah,
I'm
that's
right there with you.
That is true. Amelia, what an honor it is to have you in. Honest to God, we only got about a minute left, but I've yet to have anybody say, "No, I don't want to do that." I think I love the idea that news is the best it's ever been. It's because men and women are both involved. There are two different angles to things, or many, many different angles to things. I think makes the local news, and I think maybe I noticed this because of Fox and CNN, that when I watch you guys or I watch the national news on television, the ABCs, NBCs, CBS, all around, it's much better news because you're not trying to make money by shoving your politics down somebody else's throat. I think it's wonderful.
Well, that's good to hear, Tom. We appreciate that. Definitely. And that's the way news should be, right?
Yes.
Yes, there's no question. All right, tell Frank I've never liked him.
I will. He says to say hi to all.
Such
He's a
warm
lovely
fuzzies.
Yeah.
Warm fuzzy. He's such a great guy. Did you know from the moment you met him what a great guy he was?
I'm totally honest I'm being very honest here. The first time I met him, I'm like, it's the first time I ever thought I could marry this man.
I
Just
bet.
with one meeting,
Yep.
because we talked about our families and we had a lot in common. And he's easy on the eyes and he's a
Yes.
kind man, and he was close
Yep.
to his family,
Yep.
his mother and everything. So yes,
He's a very kind person. He's a wonderful friend. I mean, anytime I ask him, "Hey, do you mind coming in?" He does it he's just a wonderful guy. You know, when Don Shelby's right there with him, shoulder to
yeah,
shoulder.
no,
And
you're right.
you get on the list about that. I get to work with the Chris Eggerts of the world and people like that. Jeff
Oh,
Passel.
he's a
was an
nice
anchor.
guy too. That Chris,
Yes.
yeah.
They're very nice people. Well,
Yeah.
you guys are nice people, and I just keep doing the news.
Well,
in
you
a
are too.
very
That's
true
why we
manner.
come on, right?
Well,
So
thank you.
thank you very much, and we'll have to get together when you guys are maybe in the summer.
Maybe in the summer. That
Maybe in the
sounds good
summer.
to me. But Amelia, what an honor to have you, and thanks for your
Oh,
time.
thank you. An honor to be here.
Anybody
Thanks.
else have any closing words?
Thanks, Amelia. Good to see you.
Catherine, good to see you. Good to see everybody.
It is
Yeah.
indeed.
No, they're
That
all
is going to
grown
do
up.
it. Now they're all grown up.
They're all grown up with kids of their own. Yeah.
It's all true. That is going to do it. Talk to you tomorrow.
Bye.
Bye.
Got a picture in my pocket reminds me of this rose before. Every time I hear the singing reminds me how you talking